Hello. This guided meditation session is about dissolving stuckness and comes in the form of a story within a story. So, if you're feeling stuck, no matter the reason why, what, or when, then this is the best time, because this is the time that comes just before you become free of stuckness. And what's even better is that you don't have to do anything at all other than keep listening. Imagine what I ask you to imagine. See what I ask you to see. And when you do, your subconscious mind, the part of us of which we're unaware, will clearly see that all of this is solvable, and inevitably so, if you keep on listening and taking into account all of the effort you've already put in, all of the emotion you've been feeling, and all of the ongoing comfort and unhappiness you've been undergoing is, in fact, in this moment, gone. So for now, relax, loosen, settle inwards, and allow yourself to simply enjoy that oh so delightful feeling of being just about to be told a story which takes your mind away from all frustration, allowing yourself, letting yourself, losing yourself now in that dreamy feeling, and just to make everything that little bit easier. So, if you would, for me now, please just close your eyes, become comfortable where you are right now. Take a deep breath, hold it for a breath, and then let it out slowly. And as you do, slip back into that open state of mind, unhurried, unrushed, slipping into a world of imagination where nothing is real, and stories and tales are made of all things good and true. This one's for you. So, once upon a time, at the end of a long and a tiresome day, 3 little mice were settling themselves down, having had a full dinner, warm and comfortable, with the light slowly fading, and that sleepy, dreamy, otherworldly feeling that always comes when you're just about to hear a story, and so you put your cares away, so that all you hear are these words, taking you inwards towards that special place of inner enchantment drawn down there now, with the promise of better times ahead, indicated to you by a warm and velvet feeling in your stomach. The outside world slips off from your mind, attending now to its own business, leaving you alone to be the way that you would like to be, like this, captivated and entranced by tales of fishy wonder, a land of dreams and fantasy, where nothing is fixed and all things are possible, where change is the taste, the color, and the texture of each and every atom that makes up this magical realm, where all of you, each bit of you, is brought into the fold, the safest place that you could ever be. So true, if truth be told. And so Mother Mouse opened her mouth and began to tell her tale of challenge and delight to her 3 little nieces, the 3 little mice that gazed up at her in sleepy wonder as their bedtime story began, and their young and flexible minds, charmed and completely transported, turned inwards and gladly entered the land of infinite possibilities. Mother Mouse said, "There once was a shoal of fish that was many fishes, all swimming together as one, each fish looking out for all of the others, and ensuring that any dangers that might be seen by any one of the fish in the shoal was quickly communicated to all of the other fish, so that the shoal of fish, as a whole shoal of fish, remained safe and healthy and happy and full of fishy fun. And this shoal of fish, when it was still a small shoal of fish, was a happy and a contented shoal of fish. And you could tell because this shoal of fish swam around in the shape of a fish. This whole shoal of fish looked like a fish itself as it swam, and it swam, and it swam, very merrily along, and through, and under, and over, and every which way it needed to go to swim, for fun, for food, for social stuff too, just like you. And so this shoal of fish, that was shaped just like a fish, was different from all of the other shoals of fish in one very particular and rather interesting way. This shoal of fish, you see, the shoal of fish that this story in the story is all about, was made up of all different kinds of fish. Each fish in the shoal was a different type. Every fish in this shoal differed from each of the others. Now, this was something quite unusual, because usually, as you already know, a shoal of fish is made up of all the same type of fish, but just like you, this shoal of fish was happily different, having its own opinions, outlook and attitudes. And also, just like you, this shoal of fish became stuck. And this is how it all came about. The fish that swam at the very front of this shoal of fish was a pufferfish, which are big and round and shaped like a ball. And so the whole shoal of fish swam around in the ball-like shape of a puffed-up pufferfish, and the shoal swam around in the shape of a puffed-up pufferfish for a very good reason. And the very good reason was this. Pufferfish protect themselves by frightening away any hungry predators simply by way of their big round shape. And so, it was best for the shoal of fish to swim in such a shape, because this would mean it would be much safer for the shoal as a whole. And so, the whole shoal had, for as long as it could remember, been swimming along in the shape of a big puffer fish. And it worked, and they were safe, because the shape of the shoal of fish serves its purpose very well by frightening away any and all ocean-dwelling creatures that might like to come and eat it. And having listened to Mother Mouse's story so far, the three little mice were so completely entranced that they forgot who they were, and indeed were becoming the story itself. Mother Mouse looked over her glasses and saw that, of her three little nieces, one was asleep, one was completely entranced, with eyes wide open in wonderment, whilst the third focused intently on each and every word she said as she continued her fishy tale. "Now," Mother Mouse said, "this shoal of fish, which swam in the shape of a fish, was swimming along one morning looking for breakfast, when, all of a sudden, and out of the blue, our shoal of fish swam right into a very big problem and became stuck. Our shoal of fish was swimming on its way when it saw something in the distance on the floor of the ocean that it had never seen before. Something big and square was lying on the seabed. The shoal of fish swam closer to get a better look at what this was. It was an antique safe from an ancient shipwreck, an enormous metal safe, with its door leaning open wide, and the gleam of gold and silver coins and bracelets and sparkling jewels and gems clearly visible through the watery light. The shoal of fish was, of course, intrigued, and, wanting to discover more, swam closer, and then around and around the open safe, wondering if there were even more marvels hidden inside. And after a brief but considered exchange of views on the situation, our shoal as a whole decided to swim inside this enormous safe and see if there really were any more marvels to be found. And so it did. The shoal of fish swam around to the front of the safe, and to ensure its safety as ever, the shoal of fish, swimming in the shape of a pufferfish, swam inside the safe, and just as the tail of the last fish that made up the tail of the shoal of fish had swum inside, calamity struck. A rather large whale swam by, and the current that its vast body created as it moved its massive bulk through the waters began to push the door of the safe shut, with the shoal of fish still inside. And if it hadn't been for a sleeping clam that was lying half in and half out of the safe doorway, the safe door would have shut completely, locking the shoal of fish inside the safe forever. Oh dear, thought all of the fish at once and as one, and a little shiver passed through the shoal from head to tail. "We're trapped," said one of the fish mournfully, a particularly pessimistic soul. "But at least we're safe," piped up a more optimistic haddock. "Yes, in more ways than one," added a bright young mackerel. "But we're very rich too, by the looks of things." The shoal of fish surveyed their unexpected prison of riches, shining and gleaming and sparkling dimly in the darkened safe. "However," pointed out a wise old sea trout, "this type of wealth is of no use to us at all." He then went on to say, "And where freedom and achieving our goal is concerned, we've suddenly become very poor indeed. Something must be done." All of the other fish in the shoal murmured in agreement, but none of them seemed to have any idea what to do. The shoal of fish swam around and around the insides of the safe, wondering what could possibly be done, until... "Well, I have an idea," said a small, clear voice that was seldom heard in this shoal of fish. All of the other fish turned their attention in the direction of the voice. A thin yet elegant eel, her face going a little red with embarrassment under the gaze of all the other fish, but deciding that what she wanted to say was worth saying, she carried on, and she said it. "I think the obvious thing to do is to simply change the shape in which we swim as a shoal," she said. "The only reason we've become trapped in here is because we're swimming as a shoal in the shape of a pufferfish. Now, were we to change the shape of the shoal to perhaps my shape, long and narrow, then we'd easily be able to slither through the tiny opening in the doorway. The pufferfish didn't like the sound of this at all and said so. "I don't like the sound of this at all," he said. "Are you suggesting that we endanger the safety of the entire shoal by swimming in a shape that would clearly invite interest from any hungry predators about the place?" "Yes," replied the eel in a clear and determined voice for one so slim a frame. This so surprised the pufferfish that all he could say in reply was, "I see." The eel paused a moment and then addressed the whole shoal, and no fish was left out. "Safety is all very well," she said. "It's necessary and quite advisable in all sorts of situations, but to be free, we need to be flexible. And since, as a shoal of fish, our very nature is to be flexible, let me lead us out of here as a shoal in the shape of an eel, and then on the other side, and after what needed to be done is done, we can, should we wish, easily return to the shape of our shoal as a pufferfish for the sake of safety." There were murmurs of agreement all round, from all of the fish except one. The pufferfish was still harumphing to himself quietly in the corner. But within a very short time, it was decided that needs must, and the eel swam to the front of the shoal. The pufferfish, at last, seeing and understanding, and therefore accepting now that a change of shape was good and necessary, right and true, and the only really sensible thing to do. The pufferfish gracefully gave over its position at the front of the shoal to the eel, the shoal automatically changing its shape accordingly, and curling into a long spiral in the confines of the ancient safe as it waited behind the courageous eel at the front of the shoal. The eel proceeded forward. She poked her nose through the gap in the safe's doorway, ensured that all was clear, and then deftly led the entire shoal through the gap in single file. And once the whole shoal had exited the safe, the shoal quickly reformed into the shape of a pufferfish. "Well, that was exciting," exclaimed an obviously optimistic oarfish. "I liked swimming in the shape of an eel, and it saved us from being trapped. We're free." "Me too," agreed a tunafish in a deep voice. "I think the whole shoal of us should experiment and swim in different shapes depending on the situation." So the shoal of fish tried this, and was utterly delighted at how easy it was to change, and how these changes, according to the situation, made life not only so much easier, but allowed them as a shoal as a whole to do things that they had never been able to do before. And even the pufferfish was pleased. The shoal, as a whole, had learned something wonderful. Being rigid and stubborn, and refusing to change or adapt when necessary, does nothing other than to stop us in our tracks, and we end up stuck. Flexibility and fluidity not only bring freedom, but also a strategy of adaptability that allows us to experience so much more in so many more ways, and learn and experience so many more things. Yes, a certain flexibility, a feeling of fluidity, to change your form according to the flow, allows you now to do those things you couldn't do before, and find your way to places you previously couldn't go. And knowing now you are not stuck, knowing now the nature of your being is elegant elasticity, your true being, able in so many different ways to do so many different things. Your own self-image, no longer a prison, as changeable as your imagination allows. At ease in the world now, as you naturally would be, for the world itself is forever in flux. Nothing is fixed, and change is the nature and the flavor, the texture and the fragrance of all that ever was, or ever possibly could be. Being now, the more flexible you, the world fits you better, and you more comfortably fit the world. Whatever the occasion, place, or situation. Melting, dissolving, shedding the burdens of other people's expectations. Your experience and understanding shows you now the open way through. You see now what's obvious. You see this is so obvious, so clear and plain for all to see. You are your I. You're not your me. No longer a fixed picture in your own mind. No longer boxed in and pigeonholed. No longer forced to be what others think you should be, or what you think they think you should be. Let them think. You've got places to be, things to do, and people to see. But for now, having seen things differently, you understand this differently. And since understanding is all, you can now move through life differently, in any shape or form that fits. And from your current position, right now, the current you feel is flowing back to full consciousness, you bring with you all your insights and an urge to engage with the world once again. But this time on your own flexible terms, and slowly rising now from deeper consciousness to full consciousness. You remember where you are, your eyes open, and all is well with the world again. Hello. If you have enjoyed this guided meditation, please subscribe, like, and comment. You'd be doing us an enormous favor, because we're stuck at a low number at the moment and need more subscribers. Thank you.